Welcome to City of Nightmare, where real stories of terror come alive in the dark. In the quiet heart of America, when the floods came, entire towns drowned in silence. But sometimes what returns with the water is not always human. Tonight, you will hear the terrifying true story of truck drivers who entered a drowned town and came back haunted forever. The floods had swept through our region for weeks. I'm a truck driver, and my uncle, who lives in Toronto, owns an old family house in a small rural town outside Columbus, Ohio. The government evacuated everyone and turned the area into empty streets and standing water. My uncle begged me to take my truck, gather his most valuable electronics and documents from the flooded house, and bring them to the city before the water ruined everything. A handful of local boys, my friends and co-workers, agreed to help for pay. We planned to wait until the water level dropped and then rush in to salvage what we could. After a week, the water fell enough to risk going back. We knew the back roads and how the old paved lanes ran beneath the water, so we set out at dusk. The route that should have taken 2 hours turned into 3, because we had to crawl through deep, slow water. Trees rose like dark pillars out of the floodplain. The headlights only carved narrow slices of visibility. We drove slow and careful, all of us experienced with big rigs. But the darkness and silence made everything feel wrong. The town itself felt abandoned in a way I'd never seen. Houses sat silent with water halfway up their walls. One boarded-up house next to my uncle's had a reputation. People called it cursed after a local girl had been possessed and taken ill. The family had abandoned the ancestral home long ago. We avoided that place even in daylight. Still, we had one mission: get only the most important gear and documents from my uncle's house and leave fast. The thought of the cursed house never left my mind as we neared our destination. We pulled up and began loading. The water around my uncle's house reached chest height in places. We'd turned on phone torches and spread cloths over reflective surfaces. I noticed fresh, wet handprints on the main door of the abandoned neighbor's home. Prints that hadn't been there before. Nobody admitted to going near that house. The sight of those prints put a cold weight on all of us. Still, we continued. The most valuable electronics were inside and needed saving. Earlier that night, while we were stalled in a flooded stretch of woods, we heard a boat engine far off. A patrol launch making rounds. We stopped the truck and froze. While waiting, someone in the dark saw a pale, drenched figure standing in the water a little distance away. He didn't call for help. Instead, he just stared. We signaled silently, but the figure jumped into the water and vanished like it had dived into the dark mirror of the flood. Later, when the patrol moved away, that same pale shape appeared behind a tree and laughed. A human laugh that sounded like a shriek. As we loaded things inside the house, strange sounds started all around. Distant cries, someone wailing for help from another building, and the creak of footsteps across a nearby rooftop. We decided to ignore anything that wasn't necessary and hurry. But then one of my friends passed by a large standing mirror on the wall and froze. He'd seen his reflection remain still while he kept walking. In the glass, a second figure stood behind his reflection, soaked and smiling. We turned around, no one there. The mirror reflected something that wasn't present in the room. A child's crying began from upstairs, accompanied by the sound of a knock on a door. We climbed the stairs to investigate. Wet little footprints led up the steps and across the landing toward a closed room. When we called out, the crying stopped. When we were quiet, it started again. We pushed the door open. Nothing inside. No child, no movement. Only damp footprints leading to the center of the dark room and then fading away. The sound of knocking and a child's cry seemed to be a lure, a trap we barely escaped. Back downstairs, we covered the mirror with cloth and focused on finishing the load. Electronics. A locked box with documents and a few cherished items. One of the bigger boxes, a locked crate, had started making slow, deep breathing noises, like someone breathing heavily inside. My friend swore he heard it. When we leaned in, we heard nothing. We joked to push the fear away and kept working. But later, when we put the crate into the truck, someone at the back said they truly heard breathing from inside the box. The color drained from his face. We were about to leave when the truck stalled. The engine cut out. The starter just took long, sluggish turns and died. In the dark floodplain, we could now hear something moving through the water very close to the truck. Footsteps sloshing, circling us. A few times the vehicle shuddered as if struck. My side mirror showed that pale figure again, smiling wide. I kept working the starter until on a long, desperate crank the engine caught. I threw it into gear and we left without stopping. For the rest of the drive out, we felt watched, like something was chasing us through the dark water. We reached the city, unloaded, and split up, each of us shaken by what had happened. The locked crate came off last. Even after everything was safe in the warehouse, the memory of the wet figure, the mirror, the child's footsteps, and the breathing from the box keeps me on edge. I still get chills when I think about that night, and the fever I had after returning made every memory sharper. That trip was the single most terrifying run I ever made, and one I won't forget.